Don't touch that dial.
I recently got into sneakers. Like, my sneaker game was just god awful for years, and then when I was in Singapore, I found this like it was like a discount like sports store, and they had like this fucking sale there, and they had all these like major brands. They had like Nike, Reebok, like Adidas, all this shit, like, and there were some of them like shoes for like 90% off, like, and I was like, fuck, dude. So I bought like 7 pairs of sneakers and shit like while I was out there. Hi, my name is Cameron Dettman, and welcome to my episode of Midnight Sessions.
You're so optimistic, always Mr. Fix-It. I'm relenting bright side, keeping up them good vibes. Always got a
The moment that made me want to pursue music was I was 15 years old, and my folks put me in this rock and roll camp in Chico, California, at Chico State College. And at the time, I was playing guitar, and I was playing a lot in church, and I knew I wanted to be in music in some form, but it was kind of more involved with, being a worship leader at the time. And then I went off to this camp, and it was a 3-week camp, where the first week they set you up in a band with all the other kids that come to the camp. There's other drummers, there's guitar players, there's singers, and I was just going for guitar at the time. I wasn't a singer as much as I am now. And so I get there, and they set us up in a band, and for the first week. And the second week, they put you in a recording studio, and they have you record a song that you wrote while you were there for the first week. And then the last week, they put you on a mini tour where we played at Chico, we went up to San Francisco, we played at Union Square, and then we went down to LA, and we played in Hollywood. So it was kind of like a 3-week experience of what it's like to be a touring musician or just an original artist. And by the end of that camp, I knew that this was the only thing that I wanted to do. This was the only pathway for me. What makes my music stand out above everyone else's? I think personally, my voice has a sort of distinct sound to it that I have trouble kind of comparing to other people. I've gotten some comparisons to some artists in the 70s and such, but I think I have a cool thing going for me as far as my voice being unique sounding. I kind of bounce between different styles as well. Like I like to kind of jump between country and blues and soul and rock and then some pop too. So I try to keep things very eclectic as well, which I think is something that helps me stand out a bit. But it's pretty hard to stand out these days. What with everything, how easily accessible everybody is. So it's definitely a challenge, but I think I do a pretty good job. So the one thing that I could do where I could say that I've made it, that's a tough one, because there's a couple things that I've already managed to do in my career where I've said I've made it. For one is I am a full-time musician, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges of an artist and especially musicians, is just to make a living off the thing that you love to do. And that's a dream come true in itself. And I was able to accomplish that in around 2016, where I was just performing music full time, and that was the only thing that was making me money. And then after that, it was like, wow, what do I do now? Like, there's so many places to go at this point. So that was a dream come true, and I made it in that regard. And now I think the next thing is the ability to really increase my value as a performer to where I get paid a large amount of money for not as much performance time, I guess, So if I were to ever say, I think the next goal would be if I could make 10 grand for one performance, that would be like, damn, okay. Like, I've made it to that was a level that it would be really, really amazing for me as a musician and, financially too. And it's not even just about the money, it's more about my value and all the work that I've put in, over these years, and to be able to like say, oh, this is, I'm at this point, like, I don't take anything less than this, like that would be really, really amazing.
'Cause all I want is you, girl, to call my name. 'Cause none of these girls quite say it the same. All I want is you, girl, but you keep me waiting. And all I
Favorite performance that I've ever done. There's been a few in my life that I've really, really that have really kind of touched me in a way that I never forget. I opened up for Jack's Mannequin at the House of Blues in around 2013 or 14 in my old band, and it was a sold-out show. And I was a huge Jack's Mannequin fan at the time, big fan of Andrew McMahon. Just as a songwriter, has always been a huge inspiration to me. So we got to open up for him because a friend of ours was the head talent buyer at House of Blues for many years. And we always told him, hey, we want to open up for Jack's Mannequin. If they ever come into town, you have to do it. Like, you have to. Even if they say no, just like throw us on there. We don't care. Like, we'll do it for free, all this stuff. So eventually that happened. And we got to play for this big sold-out show, and it was one of the best crowds I've ever played for, and they really liked us. And then we got to go up to the Foundation Room and actually hang out with the bands that came through in the tour, and that was, I think, one of the first times I've met like a sort of hero of mine, and it was great. My bass player at the time was freaking out even more than I was, but I was like, it was amazing. And then another iconic one for me was I performed on season 12 of The Voice for the blind auditions, and it was, the way it works is they have you in like this big studio room, and there's around 700 people watching you, and then they have when you come out and the judges are all turned around and stuff, and that audition didn't go well, actually. I didn't make a team, and it was one of the most disappointing times in my life, but it was one of the greatest things I've gotten to do. As it was like a milestone for me. And even though I didn't make a team, it changed the way that I kind of perceived myself, and it changed my a lot of things about what I thought of just the business itself, and how a lot of times you are just treated like a product and not as a person. And it was a big learning experience for me. And shortly after that was when I actually met the guy who hired me to go perform in Singapore for 6 months. So it was right around that time that something really significant happened, right after that. And so that memory I'll have for the rest of my life as well. And although it didn't go well for me, it was super significant. So my advice to any up and coming musicians, artists, songwriters, creators, all that stuff. First off is to not expect instant results. Like, you have to understand that in order to get to the point that you want to get to, it requires incremental steps, and that can be super annoying and discouraging sometimes, but it also means that you can simplify what you're trying to accomplish, day to day, right? So say, okay, I want to become a better guitar player, then all you have to do is dedicate time, a small amount of time, not a lot, like maybe half an hour a day, and set those types of goals, set small goals. Like, okay, I'm going to practice for an hour a day for 5 days a week, and then I can take a break on the weekend or whatever and just fuck off. So then once you get to that point, then you can go, okay, let's try 2 hours a day or something like that. And then you can start small and build from there. And then who knows, maybe in 2 or 3 years, you're playing 3-4 hours a day, all of a sudden you're shredding, and then all of a sudden you're meeting a guy that's like, oh, you're a really good guitar player. I'm looking for a guitar player for this band. You want to join? Fuck yeah, let's do it. And that's all because you sat there and actually put the time in. You have to see what opportunities can come from a small task, see the big picture, I guess. And so that's a big thing. I think a lot of people want instant gratification now just because of our culture and the way that we, consume things. We want it now, we want it, fast, we want it, it's all based on kind of your feed that you see, on social media. It's all just everything's quick, but not music. You know, it takes years to get to the point where it took me about 10 years of this to finally, you know, make money full time doing it. But now I'm like the happiest I've ever been as far as my career goes, you know, because I put in the time and the work and didn't give up. And also, yeah, that's another thing too, is like, try not to give up. You know, I know that sounds dumb, but it's true. Like, you know, don't get so discouraged. Like, don't compare yourself so much to other people. Because you don't know where they are in their journey. You don't know how many years they've been working at this thing, and you can't do that. It's just not. It's not healthy, and it's not realistic. You have to see your own journey, and you have to understand that is more important to you than other people's journeys. You know, like, or I guess like, your journey is much more important, and it's different than other people's journey. You know, or you know. Everybody has a different path that they walk, and you can see other people's path and try to maybe like model yours after that, but you also have to accept the fact that it might not be exactly what you think it is. You know, like I was saying before, when I was, you know, 17, 18, all we wanted to do was get signed to a record label. You know, that was what was success for us at the time. And now, you know, that's not something that I would necessarily be interested in, because a lot of times record labels fuck you over, you know, and there's so many more ways and avenues that you can pursue being an independent artist now, and you don't have to have those types of companies to help you out. So pave your own, you know, find your own path, and don't be closed-minded to it being different than you think, I guess, yeah. So if you want to find my body of work online, you can find me mainly on my website, which is CameronDettman.com. As far as social media, I'm mostly active on Instagram, which is Cameron_Dettman. Also on Twitter, which is @CameronDettman. And then you can also check out my YouTube account, which is Cameron Dettman Music. You'll find all kinds of travel vlogs, original music, and then cover music. And then finally, I do a live stream on Thursdays on my Instagram Live and my Facebook Live from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hi, my name is Cameron Dettman. Welcome to my episode of The Midnight Sessions.